What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another breakdown. As you can see, I'm up 3K today. It's been a very nice day, and my 50K is only 2% away from passing, but I actually went over my consistency score. So that means I'm gonna have to make an extra 2%, I think, but no big deal. We'll get that done regardless. Let me just dive into the trade that got me this win. So today there was news. So I didn't enter before 1:30 because I didn't want to be a part of the volatility that was going to happen. So I was like, let me just sit back this time because there was no setup anyway. But I was like, let me just sit back and relax. Nothing crazy going on. So after news came out, that's when I was interested in taking my setup for the day. So this is the setup that I took for a 1 to 4 trade right here. So I'm just about to get into this trade and just break down what made me take this. The past few weeks of data, NQ has been moving very bearish for a few weeks now. And last week we closed with a very big bearish candle, taking out these lows right here and also filling in these two gaps. So we can see potential for price to move back up to here within the next few days maybe, or the next few weeks. Don't watch the ads, bro. Niggas ain't got TradingView ads like that. Black Friday coming up soon. Might have to grab that deal, bro. And you better grab that deal too, buddy. But anyways, back to the charts. So overall, for the past few weeks, I've had a bearish sentiment overall, but I will sweep in and get buys whenever I need to. But today was a sell day. So on the daily, we can see price filling in gaps and just it keeps sweeping lower. It keeps sweeping lower and pushing lower. And eventually it got to that point where I marked. If you watch the previous videos, I would have marked out this point. I said that price is going to reach this point, and it finally reached it at some point, right? So what price tends to do is it tends to fill gaps and seek liquidity. It's called ERL to IRL, external range liquidity to internal range liquidity. So that's the cycle that I use to predict where price is going to go. So after price took these lows right here, I was expecting it to push all the way back up to here, or at least within this gap right here. And that way we can fill in internal range liquidity and then come back all the way back down. But because this wick right here did not go all the way in and it failed to push in and it created a fair value gap all the way back down, this becomes our new market structure shift on the day. For a few days after this, I'll be paying more attention to sells than buys. Before we broke through, we created a market structure shift, and with this gap left right here, as you can see, plenty of displacement, and this is on a daily chart. So we tap right back into that, and then we go all the way back down into those lows and filling that gap on the weekly chart, as you can see. Beautiful fills, man. I can't lie, price action has been on a crazy run for the past like 2 months. As we're on the 4-hour chart, we can see that Friday filled in that gap and then took the liquidity as well. So we can see very strong bullish price action. This would be a very great entry for buys, but I wasn't ready for buys still. I was still waiting for sells. But I think I did take a short-term buy yesterday for a 1-to-1, and that was pretty smooth. But overall, for long-term trades and bigger RR trades, I was looking for sells because that's what the higher time frame was speaking to me. If we delete all of this, we already know that we're bearish for the week, or rather we're looking for bearish setups more than buys, right? So now that we know that fact, we have this big, huge gap right here, which was created on Thursday, right before we took the lows on Friday, right? So pushing into this gap, at some point in here, it was going to become weak, right? So we got this push right here, and then it got weak for a little bit, and we had a little 4-hour push down, and then a couple more candles. It's still not looking like it wants to push down. So right here, it swings all the way back up, and then now it'll most likely fill this high right here. But let's just dive into the shorts, which were there for us. So on Monday, I just caught a nice 1-to-1 buy within this range right here, and then I didn't really hold it, but I should have. But to be fair, I wanted to really dial in because my accounts were getting close to being in drawdown. So I was just like, you know what? And some of them were in drawdown, to be fair. So I was like, you know what? I need to lock in on the 1-to-1s for a little bit, build a little bit of momentum. So coming into New York session today, we was virtually at the peak of this 4-hour FVG. So my plan was, if we broke this 4-hour FVG, then I would look for buys going up. But we didn't break it in that moment, and we were consolidating all throughout London, just taking out all of these highs right here. All of these highs were taken out. These equal highs were left to be taken for later. So honestly, if it wasn't for the consistency rule, I would have got back in later on within this area and took the buys up. But because I have consistency rules, I can't trade. Like at some point, I have to stop. Otherwise, I'm not trying to make 50K to take a withdrawal. You get what I'm saying? Like, so at some point, I got to stop. So 1 to 4 was perfectly fine for me, and I take that and then I go home with what I have. Right, coming into New York session, I was actually kind of interested in getting into buys because of Friday's sweep and the FEG fill. My intuition was telling me that sells were better in this situation, but I was so close to entering this, and honestly, it would have been a win for me regardless. But it would have just been a 1 to 1, and I wouldn't have been able to hold that. So this would have been my entry for this trade, and I would have just got the 1 to 1. So once I saw this setup that I wanted to take, and it was too weak to push up all the way to the top, I decided to leave that entry and focus more on sells. Throughout New York, we get this FEG on the 5 minute right here, and with a lot of displacement going down, get this market structure shift right here. And then that's when I look at that and I'm like, okay, I'm interested in taking this. But now the decision lays, do I take a 1 to 1 or do I take a 1 to 4 or 1 to 3 or anything more, right? And the reason why I took a 1 to 4, I wanted to see price come in and fill this area right here, and it completely broke right through it. I extended my risk to reward for this 15-minute target right here within this gap, and it could have went a bit lower into this one, but it didn't push all the way, and it's because it's a 4 hour gap. So it's another 4 hour gap which we was looking at before, and it tapped into that and then it went all the way back up, as you can see. So sometimes it's not a good idea to hold for long. So that's why I'm glad that I've actually figured out what's the best way to manage my setups and look for certain areas to get out, essentially, right? But it's not always going to be a 1 to 4 day. It can just be a 1 to 1 day, and I'm okay with that. But in the past, I was never okay with that. It had to be a 1 to 4 day. Sometimes you have to just take your small wins that will help you build up your minimum winning days, and then you can take the big wins to finally go for that big trade that will get you that money. You know what I'm saying? That money. So with that being said, this is essentially the setup that I took this week to make 3K this week. And I'm not even done, bro. It's only a Tuesday and I've already made 3K. So I don't know what to tell you. But yeah. But with that being said, I also need to be up quite a bit on the second 100K account because I went over on the 40% consistency score. So now I actually have to basically get a max payout at this point. And that's what my goal is at this point. So my goal will be to get a max payout on the Alpha Zero account to end off this month. I don't know. I don't know if I'll be able to get it done by the end of this week, but maybe next week we can get that done, and then I can get a max payout, and then you know what I'm saying, like finally, bro, finally, trading's starting to make sense to me. You know what I'm saying? It's starting to make sense because when I was trading at CFD firms, I couldn't trade the way I wanted to. You know what I'm saying? I would have to nerf myself because of spreads and stuff like that. And like, I don't have to worry about that anymore. It's just me and the chart, bro. It's just me and you, bro. In my next video, I'll be breaking down how to maneuver around the futures prop firms and how to understand their rules and make sure that you don't make the same mistakes that I made. Because you guys can go back in my channel and see that I went like, you know what I'm saying? I've been doing this for like 2 months now. And shit went wrong at first, but then I finally figured it out, bro. I cracked the code. So now the code is cracked. Pause. It's time to win. So stay tuned to see my journey and see how far I get with futures trading. Hopefully it goes well, but you never know in this life, man. I might just blow this shit today, right now. I'll just press the button right now and blow it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, man. I'm gonna shout you.